Welcome to the latest special edition of the Teamster Nation podcast. I'm Kara Denez of the Teamsters Communications Department. In this important episode, we address the dual crises facing our nation right now: racial justice in the wake of the police-involved murder of George Floyd and the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. In this episode, we speak to the director of the Teamsters Human Rights and Diversity Commission about the union standing up for racial equality and against unnecessary law enforcement violence against unarmed Black people. We will also update you on what's going on in the union's passenger transport division, as well as on health and safety protocols. And we will also hear from a Teamster bus driver working for the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. I turn now to my colleague Ted Gotch for more. Ted?
Thanks, Kara. This last week is one that has shaken the nation like few have before it. Already experiencing significant challenges due to COVID-19, the despicable May 25th murder of George Floyd at the hands of law enforcement in Minneapolis left many, especially African Americans, with feelings of anger, sorrow, and hopelessness. I spoke to Marcus King, director of the Teamsters Human Rights and Diversity Commission, about how the union is addressing this immense tragedy. Today, we're joined by Marcus King, the director of the Teamsters Human Rights and Diversity Commission. Director King, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. To get started, Teamsters General President Jim Hoffa and yourself issued a statement this week calling for justice in the murder of George Floyd. Why was it important for the Teamsters to weigh in on this police killing?
Well, thank you for asking. General President Hoffa and I collaborated on a statement because we wanted to be clear that the Teamsters are one of the largest unions and stand for civil rights, and that the General President was outraged the fact that this police officer murdered Mr. Floyd, and wanted the membership, the 4.1 million members, to know that we will not stand idly by and let this go without being talked about. And so we collaborated on a statement that was put out on May 31st. And in that statement, clearly, we're calling for this abuse to stop. I think American history speaks loud and clear on the history of killing innocent minorities, but especially Black men. I'm not sure how many people who listen to this podcast had a parent have to have a conversation with them about how they're to conduct themselves when they get stopped by a police officer. I've had that conversation with my father. Told me to keep my hand on the steering wheel, look forward, don't make any sudden movement, don't take my license out unless I'm asked. And I think these things in this day and time that we live in have to stop. And so the General President was very adamant that he wanted to make sure that we address this issue.
Well, as you know, and as you alluded to, the Teamsters have a decades-long history in standing up for civil rights. What can this union and the entire labor movement do to help society make progress when it comes to racial justice?
And I'm glad you asked that question, because I think clear that we have to continue to educate our members. Everyone is not on the same page. A lot may be about where you come from or how you were brought up, but we have to be a colorblind society, and I think James R. Hoffa understood that, and I think James P. Hoffa understands that well. That we have to be colorblind. The reality is we all bleed red, and no longer can we sit idly by and continue to let innocent people be murdered, especially Black men. And I think that we have to do an education to educate, our members, but also society. Being that we're one of the largest unions in America, Canada and Puerto Rico, I think that it's our duty to make sure that we address this, and not that we only talk about it during the times of when we have these kind of issues, but we need to talk about it all the time.
Yes. Okay. And then just finally, there's sort of a saying, change, they say, happens at home. This union represents a diverse group of workers across races, genders, ethnicities, faiths, and sexual orientations. How can members do a better job of understanding and giving support to those of different backgrounds than themselves?
Good question you asked that. I think that, we have to mentally be open to understand our differences. And I think that a lot of people aren't ready to really open up. And so it's our job to make sure that we bring that to their attention. General President Hoffa appointed me to the Human Rights and Diversity Commission because he understood that we need to make sure that we constantly are having this conversation about race, ethnicity, different backgrounds. And a lot of times we only see from our lens, and we have to broaden our lens to be inclusive of everyone and different ideas. Listen, the world is really changing. And as it changes, we have to progress as well. And we all have to do our part in making sure that that happens. We can no longer let police officers whose job is to make sure that they safeguard the citizens of this country. And they need to understand their job is to protect and serve. And we need to hold them accountable. Likewise, we need to hold our politicians accountable, and we need to hold each other accountable. But we have to be open to have that conversation of change. And so what I would say is let's be on the lookout, because we are slowly putting together our commission of a very diverse group of Teamster members to have these conversations. And again, we can't just have these conversations when we have a crisis or a murder like we have, because we've had way too many of these. And so it's all of our responsibilities to make sure that we're open and that we're communicating and that we start changing. I think one of the things that you will see when you look at the crowd that's protesting, because I did, it's a little bit of everybody. So that means that we are starting to pay attention, because I've seen just as many white folks as black folks and brown folks that are protesting, standing up for the rights of people. And I think we all have to get there to be able to make this happen.
Well, Director King, thank you very, very much for joining us and discussing, obviously, this difficult but essential topic that needs to be addressed. I know that many of us who are Teamsters are very glad to see the union come out and address it. Again, thank you for your time today.
No, thank you. And thank President Hoffa as well for giving us the platform to be able to address our members. And I hope this goes out to a wide range of folks so we can start this dialogue that is long overdue.
The Teamsters continue their fight for the health, safety, and economic stability of hardworking Americans who are being challenged like never before. I again turn to Ted Gotch for more on this.
Kara, behind the scenes, Teamster leaders and staff continue their work to get members the information and assistance they need. What follows is an update from some of them. I spoke to Anjali DeGrasse, Deputy Director of the Teamsters Safety and Health Department, about the continuing need to stay safe on the job.
Hi, this is Anjali DeGrasse from the Safety and Health Department. coming to you again this week with another topic during the COVID-19 pandemic. I've gotten a call recently regarding employees, members who would like more information regarding elastomeric respirators. And some of their employees have decided to forego searching for N95 respirators and decided to use elastomeric respirators, which can be reusable over many times. So I just wanted to touch on a few points about elastomeric respirators. When thinking of elastomeric respirators, some folks think of a Star Wars and Darth Vader type mask. And it is true that NIOSH certified reusable elastomeric particulate respirators are far different from the Darth Vader mask in real life. They can provide at least the same level of protection or better than N95 filtering face piece respirators, even if they do look somewhat eerily similar. The most significant difference between a reusable elastomeric respirator and a disposable filtering face piece respirator, like an N95, is that reusable respirators must be maintained and inspected after each use, including cleaning and disinfecting of the elastomeric components, such as the face piece valves, the valve covers, and straps. When used in conventional workplace settings, the filter, cartridge, or canister of a reusable elastomeric respirator is not generally cleaned or disinfected. It is discarded once damaged, soiled, or clogged. Elastomeric respirators are equipped with replaceable filters. Some replaceable filters are cartridge style, in which the filtration media is housed within a cartridge component. Others consist of flexible, disc, or maybe pancake-like style filters, in which the filter media is not housed within a plastic or other type cartridge body. It's just out in the open and exposed. In a healthcare setting, on an emergency basis, during contingency and crisis times and emergency use, the filters of an elastomeric respirator, except for the unprotected pancake-style filters, may be used for an extended period of time if the filter housing of cartridge types is disinfected after each patient interaction, provided the disinfectant or cleaning agent does not come in contact with the filter media. So again, in conventional workplaces, the filter cartridges are generally not disinfected. They're discarded once damaged. However, in the healthcare setting, where I've gotten calls where some employers, some hospitals are moving to elastomeric type respirators, again, those filters that are housed in a cartridge body should be disinfected after each patient use. However, that disinfectant and cleaning product should not come in contact with the filter media at all. So care has to be taken when disinfecting the filter cartridge. Some considerations for reusable elastomeric respirators. Reusable respirators include tight-fitting half face piece or full face piece elastomeric respirators that use reusable filters, cartridges, or canisters, and have face pieces made of synthetic or natural rubber material, permitting repeated cleaning, disinfection, storage, and reuse. They contain an exhalation valve and should not be used in surgical settings where there's a concern for unfiltered air coming out of the exhalation valve, which may contaminate the surgical field. As with N95 filtering face piece respirators, reusable respirators require a